Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am Josh Kirby. This is the Kirby on Sports podcast. As always, a big thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, and Barrett Pest and Termite Services. Without our sponsors, this podcast would not be where it is today. So a big thanks to them. Check us out, www.kirbyonsports.com as well. On today's episode, we have two deep dives. The Ravens defeating the Bengals 19-17 in a defensive battle. And Monday night, the Chiefs edged the Raiders 30-29. A lot to get into with these two games. And as always, the Hurry Up Offense brought to you by Barrett Pest and Termite Services. It's going to be a fun show. The Kirby on Sports podcast comes your way right now. Once again, this is the Kirby on Sports podcast. We have a lot to get into. For the first time in a very long time, one of our co-hosts, the weapon, Dan Dempsky, joins us right now. Dan, it's good to see you, buddy.
Good to be here.
Long.
It's been too long, man. I've been busy.
City boy living the big city dream. It's probably fun for you.
Yeah. It's definitely a big city dream here. Not really, but yeah.
Well,
it's been fun, man. I've been busy, but I'm glad to be back on the show.
Yeah,
and excited to be talking football with you guys. Always enjoy it.
Dan, it's always great to see you, but we do have to do one thing. This is a little bit belated, but somebody had a birthday this past Monday by the name of Carlos Martinez, the Swiss Army knife. So before we bring him in, Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. Happy birthday to you. Ladies and gentlemen, birthday boy, Carlos Martinez.
Let's bring in the Collinsworth slide. Wow, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. That was so beautiful. It made my ears bleed. Thank you.
I thought I was in tune, but probably not.
Appreciate you, boys.
The Collinsworth slide was a nice touch. I love it.
Yeah, I thought I add a little razzle dazzle to my entrance. As the showman of the show, I always have to come in big. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah, definitely. You never disappoint. That's for sure.
Well, listen, just wait until maybe next week. Just wait until you see what I bring out.
Ooh.
Maybe next week. Okay, maybe. It's a little tease.
All right, let's go.
So this is part of the show where I was not planning. This involves Dan going backstage for just a second. Dan, just bear with us here. But the first game on our deep dive is...
Wait, how is he backstage? I'm so confused.
Listen, I understand we're just going to have to roll with it, Carlos.
No. You don't throw a curveball at us here.
Oh, we're throwing a curveball because we're covering the Baltimore Ravens win over the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football. But this does not excuse Dan for the times being off after the Ravens suffered 2 critical
So why are you
losses.
kicking him off? Put him back on.
Because Dan can't get all the glory with this Ravens win. 19-17, the Ravens over the Bengals.
And thank you, Carlos, for defending me. Thank you.
That was an egregious move. That was egregious.
That's a 15-yard penalty right there, and maybe a fine and suspension.
Yeah. I did so bad. Ron Rivera might have to get fired because of it.
I think you're preying on that one there, bud. I don't think that's going to happen.
But
this is Washington we're talking about.
Anyways, the Ravens over the Bengals, another nail biter that could have gone.
Not every Ravens game's a nail biter at this point.
Well, it was mostly defensively from what I saw.
Wait, hold on. Pause. Before we move on. So you did all that, right? All that showmanship, kicking him off the stream, talking about he needs to answer for this.
Yeah.
And then you yada-yada'd over it and then didn't even let the man get to speak.
There we go. Yeah. The Ravens.
The respect is just... That's how you... What?
Kirby, I don't think Kirby thought this segment through very well. That's what I'm going to go with. But you know what? Let's get back on track here.
Okay.
I didn't think it through well, but Dan, you get the Ravens get a victory, and we can talk about this Ravens win and the fact that Twitter put the trumpet music of Edwin Diaz for the Mets over Justin Tucker coming out to kick the game-winning field goal. So,
pardon my take. I think was the first one.
That was pretty fun. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I mean, you said it. It was a defensive battle. Lamar and the offense were not the best. They had their fair share of decent drives, but it always seemed like we would come up short and either have to punt or bring Tucker out. Justin Tucker's basically, the MVP of this game, so he was just solid.
God, man, that dude just
God.
That dude just. He's so freaking reliable. It's kind of annoying.
5 kicks in this game he made. So it's, he pretty much single-handedly pulled the Ravens to this victory. And the funny thing is the Bengals have a pretty good kicker too. Like Evan McPherson's. I'm not going to say he's the next Tucker, but he's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
let's be honest there. So yeah, it's kind of wild because this game, I expected it to be both teams be in the 30s, maybe the upper 20s with the scores. So obviously that would be around 60 points, give or take total. It wasn't even close to that. And both these teams, it was definitely the defenses deserve a tip of the cap. I want to start with what the Ravens were able to do defensively against some really solid Cincinnati weapons. They really did a great job with Jamar Chase. There was the play the Bengals ran where they tried to do the Philly special and flip it out to Chase. I can't remember exactly what point of the game this was. And the Ravens blew it up, and it was about a 6 or 7 yard loss. And that was a key play for them, because if the Bengals execute on that, as low scoring of a game as this was, that could have been the difference maker. But it was plays like that, the Ravens defense and really the Bengals defense too, just bend but don't break mentality for most of this game. Both teams were kind of able to drive down the field, but the defenses bowed up when they had to and made the stop. So that's kind of my overall big picture breakdown of this game. It was nice to see J.K. Dobbins. He played really well. Of course, he had limited carries. He only had 8 carries in the game, but he looked shifty. He looked pretty good. It was nice to see him breaking tackles and looking like his old self. Ronnie Stanley was back for the Ravens, which is huge. After missing, almost 2 years, he got injured in October of 2020, and a very serious injury. And so the fact that he's able to come back and played pretty well. He was on a pitch count as well. I think Harbaugh said after the game that Dobbins and Stanley were, they were in pitch count situations where they were rotated out. So I felt like that kept those guys fresh, but it also gave them a chance to contribute in the game. But yeah, the Ravens defense was, I think, what impressed me most. the fact that they were able to slow down Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, who has killed them for years. I mean, they held him to barely anything, which I think is key. And then of course, their leading receiver was Hayden Hurst, who used to be a Baltimore Raven just a few years back. So that was interesting and sort of weird to see. But that's the nature of the NFL. What is it? Stands for not for long. So, these things happen in a business decision. So, I'm just very impressed. The Ravens secondary, they had not been the best to this point. We all know what happened against Josh Allen. Played a pretty solid game, but gave up a ton of yards. And of course, the game-winning field goal on that long drive the Bills had last week. This was a must-win game for the Ravens. And I was talking to Carlos about this before we started. And if they lose this game, it becomes pretty apparent that the AFC North is terrible this year anyway. Let's not lie about that. I mean, there really is no great team. So this game was kind of to show, okay, who's the most competent team right now in the division. And with the Ravens losing 5 straight games at home, you dropped to 0-6.
That was such an insane stat. I didn't realize that they had been losing at home that long.
Crazy. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. I saw that stat. I was like, "You've got to be kidding!"
Yeah, it's been brutal for them, and all of them have been last second field goals most of the time, or touchdowns or whatnot. So
one possession games, basically
one possession games, very slim margin of victory. So, I think that's kind of all I have. I mean, this game was not that exciting if you're a fan of big offensive plays. I will say Lamar Jackson didn't play his best game, but, and there's a big but here, he got the job done. I mean, you're not going to come out and ball out every single game. The Bengals have a pretty solid defense too. Let's give them some credit for being able to keep the Ravens in check. Just a really low-scoring game, but a typical AFC North game. Kind of a throwback.
It's a smash mouth game. That's what it is. That's how the North always is.
Yep. So that's how I would sum it up.
I'd like to get back to what you were saying about Ronnie Stanley. First and foremost, if I remember correctly, that injury was pretty bad. He suffered back when it happened. I can't recall exactly when, but for him to come back after something like that is pretty remarkable. So hats off to him for making that recovery and coming back. And obviously so, he was on a pitch count. So, but I just thought that was a really cool story to see him come back in this game and actually get on the opening play.
Well, and so he originally broke it 2 years ago, and then he rushed back last year, and then I think he re-injured himself at the beginning of last year in the first game. So yeah, it's been a 2-year injury at this point. And so the fact that he's back now, and the Ravens did not want to rush him back, which I think is the right move. Obviously, when it's a serious injury like that with the leg or an ankle or something like that, you can't rush it back. I mean, both of you guys know, you've seen guys who rush back from those injuries, and it's never good. So I think the Ravens did the right thing. And it's just really nice that we have some continuity now, because last year the offensive line was just a nightmare.
And one more thing I'd like to add, not that it really makes that much of a difference, but the Ravens needed defensive help. They went out and signed a veteran Jason Pierre-Paul, and he had a sack in this game as well.
Yeah, he was solid. He was especially at the start of the game. You could see there was quite a fire lit under him, and I love seeing that, because you get guys towards the tail end of their careers, and they're sort of collecting a paycheck. But the Ravens needed rushing help. I mean, their rush defense, their rush defense has been awful, and it's really been awful for like 2.5 years now. If you go back to 2019, 2020. But he hopefully will be a nice addition. You could tell that he's still getting back in football shape. So there's a little bit of, he sort of ran out of gas a little bit there after his hot start. But yeah, I hope he keeps it up. I hope he continues to get in good shape and contributes to the Ravens, because he was all over the field to start the game. And it's always nice when you can dominate the Cincinnati offensive line because they've had issues for so long. And we were told it was supposed to be fixed this year. This was the year, right? They went out and they tried to fix it, and it's been just as bad this season.
Well, listen, I mean, what I will say about the offensive line thing is they're still built. I mean, like you said, they went out, they pretty much replaced. I mean, there's only one guy who started in the Super Bowl that's still on this line, right?
True.
So they went out and got all these guys. They have no continuity. They're still building that like rapport and continuity and all that stuff. So there's going to be mistakes made here, you know.
Good point.
In fairness, you know, they have faced some. I mean, they faced the Dallas rush. You know, like that's top line. They face. I don't know. I mean, they face some pretty. I mean, like you said, Jason Pierre-Paul, who's just a special talent. He's been for many years. I mean, he wreaked havoc, and of course, like you said, he tired out towards the end. But you know, like you said, he's trying to get back in football shape. You know, he hasn't really had a reason to be.
Tough. Yeah.
There's a difference. Like he's probably stayed in shape, but there's a difference between in shape and in football shape.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like you said, Lamar didn't have the best game, but when it mattered most, he made the plays, and he got them down into field goal range. Where you know, Justin Tucker, who's just in God mode at this point,
Justin Tucker, he's just amazing.
Like I just don't understand. Like I get nervous because every time there's a big kick, you know, the broadcast always starts talking about, oh, they have it, you know, and I'm always nervous but man, that kick was like dead in the middle. I was like, there is no possible. I was like, why did I even like doubt this? Like, this is Justin Tucker we're talking about here. I do like how I believe it was on the drive before that though. Baltimore got down there, and instead of trying to do what they did against Buffalo and go for it on fourth down, they decided to take the points, get the field goal, which of course set them up in a good position for them to win. I mean, listen, you have Justin Tucker. Like, I understand Baltimore with the analytics. They're an analytics team. If the analytics tell them to go, it's better to go for it. They're going to go for it. But at a certain point, you got to also, you know, you got to have a feel for the game, right? Like, if you know that like you're struggling to get into the end zone,
got to know who you have too.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's also just like, it's just what's the trend in the game, right? Are you succeeding at converting these? Like, and again, you're not going for a first down here. You're going for a touchdown.
Right.
So like, yeah, I don't know. For me, I like that they went for the points this time.
Me too.
And
I think it was the right move.
It was clearly the right move because then it set them up for that final drive where they just needed to get in a field goal range for Tucker to win it all.
You know, I got to say, I was quite nervous because the Bengals had a super long 8-minute drive there. But the positive thing is, I think they scored too fast because they scored with just under the 2-minute warning. So you give the Ravens, like, I think it was like a minute 53 or something, just for them to get in field goal range, which is very doable. So I felt a little bit better about that because you could see the Ravens were trying to pull them into the end zone when they were down there in first and goal situations. So, because we all know what happened
with Buffalo.
Yeah. What happened with Buffalo? So, but yeah, I was overall pleased with the game. I felt that you know, the offense had an off night for sure, but the defense did what they had to do. We all know what they did to us last year. I mean, Joe Burrow killed our secondary and you know, threw for 1 billion yards last year against our defense. So this was like sort of this was definitely a bounce back game for those guys, and it was great to see it, and also nice to get pressure on him because we didn't last year. You know, and that's key to stopping any quarterback. That's the basis of stopping anyone in the NFL. Just name them. So, well, except maybe Mahomes, but yeah,
it just depends.
Sure.
One constant that is always there for the Baltimore Ravens. And we've heard this name before, Mark Andrews. 8 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. He comes out every game, and he's always so consistent.
Yeah, he's definitely Lamar's old reliable. I think security blanket. When Lamar needs a receiver, he knows where to go with the football. And sometimes he sort of, you know, leads the defense that way too. Like, hey, like the defense knows he's probably going to throw to Andrews, but he's such a tough matchup for obviously linebackers for speed and just his ability to get open, and then obviously corners, his height and he's a tight end. He's built like a fridge. So, yeah, he steps it up every game, and I think he's become a crucial part of this offense. And if he goes down, like if he were to get hurt, that would just be detrimental to this offense. Because like Carlos said, he's Lamar's safety blanket, and they go to him a lot, and they draw up those Chiefs shovel passes to him too. They've done that the last few weeks, and they pulled that straight out of Andy, the mind of Andy Reid. So see some teams doing that across the NFL, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
it works.
The system works. I mean, you just keep. I mean, people start to imitate it.
That's right. So yeah, I've always been pleased with him, and he just comes to play every day. He's a lunch pail kind of guy. He just steps up big time. So I love Mark Andrews. I call him Mandrews. I mean, I'm not the only person to do that. That's his nickname. So clever, right? Who would have thought that up? So yeah.
So before we move on, Lamar Jackson had 19 for 32, 174 yards with a touchdown and an interception, 58 yards on the ground rushing on 12 rushing attempts. As mentioned earlier, Mark Andrews, 8 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Queen defensively for the Ravens had an interception as well. Joe Burrow, 217 with a touchdown and an interception. And Joe Mixon, the leading receiver for the Bengals, with 78 yards. Rushing. And Joe Burrow also had a rushing touchdown in this game as well. The Ravens, 19. And the Bengals, 17. Dan, hopefully the Ravens can keep this momentum going, because they've been in a lot of close games. And with the talent this team has, the Ravens should be winning a lot more, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just comes down to who finishes. And they were on the wrong end of those games all season until Sunday night. So, yeah, I mean, that's the key thing. They just got to play full 4 quarters. See there? It's a tongue twister. 4 full quarters. FFQ.
Say that 4 times. Say that 5 times.
4 full quarters. 4 full quarters. 4 full quarters. 4 full quarters.
Ah, you messed up. But
I did not.
You're wrong. But yes, yeah, they just they just have to finish out games. They play a good half and then they just disappear. So I think the key thing for them moving forward, just consistency. I mean, consistency is key in life. It's key in football. So, boom. There's my wisdom for the day. Moving on.
There you go. The Ravens, 19. The Bengals, 17. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Monday night matchup between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Stick with us right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, welcome back. The Kirby on Sports podcast, back with you with another deep dive. And this came on the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez's birthday. 30-29, the Kansas City Chiefs claw their way back from an early deficit. The Raiders looked pretty good there early. I'll let you go into that more, Carlos. But for me, the Raiders led this game early, and then the Chiefs just had to claw their way back. One takeaway I'll take from this game, I did not really see it, but I don't think I've ever seen a roughing the passer penalty where the ball actually comes out of the quarterback's hands and falls into the defender's hands. And then Arrowhead Stadium, they just started chanting and saying a lot of bad stuff towards the referees. And that was one going into halftime. And then Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce did what they did best. Patrick Mahomes connected with him 3 times, and the rest is history.
Correction, 4 times.
Excuse me, 4. I meant
Monday night record, sir.
Yes.
Have respect.
Hey, yeah, you all share the same birthday too.
Oh, man.
We do not. Well, me and his mom, yeah, me and his mom. Not me and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was born on the 5th.
Oh, okay. What do you think of it, Carlos? The Swiss Army knife on your birthday boy. Let's hear your thoughts.
He's trying to think of every way to say birthday.
Right? I mean, listen, what an interesting game that was. It was. I mean, we went down 17-0. I was like, wow. Okay, well, at least I had the Cowboys win, right? I got something. All right. You can't have it all. You can't have it all, right? Mm-hmm. But hey, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, when that roughing the passer call happened, that's what like really ignited the Chiefs. And that's when they really made like that comeback and completely took over the game for a little bit there. That call was that was an egregious call. And this has been building up for a while. I see some people are, because of course I listen to some podcasts in the morning, while on my drive to work. Some people are saying that it's an overcorrection to the Tua Tagovailoa thing. This had nothing to do with Tua Tagovailoa. This has always been an issue with the roughing the pass, because their reasoning behind it was Chris Jones applied his full body weight on the way down. But when you really look at it, you see his left arm braces his fall, and he has the ball in his other hand. So it's just like at a certain point, like, where is the defender supposed to go?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Like, this is
you can't do anything. Yeah.
Like again, I understand player safety. I understand the whole reason why they did this is because they want to protect the quarterback, because the quarterback is the moneymaker of the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's all about quarterback play. So they want to protect the quarterback as much as possible. But at a certain point, like, come on, like, what are we doing? Like that's ridiculous. It was the same thing that happened in the Falcons game. It's the same thing in the Falcons-Bucks game. It's the same thing that happened here. And this one was just even more egregious because it took away a turnover that was rightfully deserved by the Chiefs. And then I believe Vegas went down think they got a field goal out of it. I don't remember if it was a field goal or a touchdown. I think it was a field goal. But yeah, it was just, and I mean, that Arrowhead crowd was just letting those refs have it. I mean, it was booing, like to a level that like I've only heard at like a wrestling event where they're booing the bad guy, right? I've never heard it that bad, right? Like there's been egregious calls in the past, right? And I've heard booing to the refs, but they did it for the rest of the game. They were just booing the refs.
That was incredible in my opinion. They just kept it up because that's how bad they hated the call.
Chiefs Kingdom is not to be messed with, man. They pride themselves in how much noise they can make, and they will let it be known how they feel, right? Listen, this is one of the reasons why Arrowhead's on my bucket list. I want to go to a Chiefs game at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Let's do it.
We owe Carlos a Chiefs game next year.
We already went to a Chiefs game.
No, at Arrowhead. Let me rephrase.
I mean, I guess at Arrowhead, sure, but you know, we'd have to figure all that out. But
and we owe Carlos a Cowboys game, unfortunately, too.
Listen, those are just too expensive to go to.
Yeah, I can't afford Dallas, I don't think.
Hey, we can walk around and tour the art gallery.
You still have to have tickets to get in.
Yeah.
Anyways,
bad joke. Let's move on.
I mean, defensively, Kansas City struggled with. Oh my God, his name is escaping me. Adams. Wow,
Devontae Adams. Yeah,
Devontae had a pretty good game as well.
Well, here's the thing: he only had 3 catches, right? 2 of them were for long touchdowns. We struggled, and not only that, he was getting all these penalties called because, of course, he was using the system to his advantage. You know, which rightfully so. It's within the rules of the game. Right, where he would try, where there was no shot he was going to catch those passes. But of course, if you turn back and you try to go for a catch, and the defensive back is like right in your face, you're going to get the call. Yeah. Right. So again, fair play to him. It's gamesmanship here, right? You can't knock him for using the rules to his advantage.
Smart player.
So yeah, like he got like 100 more yards worth of penalty yardage off of those alone. Mm-hmm. So in reality, he had like a 200-yard game, and then of course 2 touchdowns. And man, that last touchdown that he scored, that Derek Carr stepped up and like launched it. That was such a beautiful pass. I was like, oh wow, perfectly placed. It was a great double move by Devontae Adams to like sucker the safety, to kind of step up, and then he just took off. And I mean, it was the right concept in my opinion, right? You have you got the safety above him, covering him. It was just the wrong players. It wasn't Snead, it wasn't our other guy Reed. It should have been those 2 who were on Adams during that play, because I believe they wouldn't have fallen for that move the way the other 2 guys did. And yeah, Travis Kelce, man, what a beast. In the biggest moments, like when we needed those touchdowns, he stepped up. And again, 7 catches for 25 yards, but 4 touchdowns. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. The only concerns I have really with the Chiefs right now is the wide receiver core aside is struggling. They're not necessarily making the biggest plays. Obviously it's hard to replace Tyreek. Tyreek Hill is just a special player.
Takes time to build that rapport, like we talked about earlier too. So
yeah, and
it's going to take time with Mahomes to build with those guys.
Valdez Scantling, he had a pretty solid game today, but I just don't see him as the guy who's going to make that game changing play, right?
Yeah.
The other, Juju Smith-Schuster is supposed to be that guy, right? He's got all the talent in the world, but something's off. Somebody pointed it out. His problem is concentration, because he's got a lot of drop passes this year. And another thing is when you look at his rookie year, he was a more explosive wide receiver than he is now. And I just don't really know what to attribute that to. I just don't think he's a guy who's going to be your number 1. I think he's a solid number 2, right? And he's a good wide receiver. It's just he needs to work on concentration, I guess you could say, right? Making sure he finishes the play. And then so they need some wide receiver help. That one like 3rd and like 2 play, I think it was, that they tried to get to McCole Hardman was he never makes that. He never makes that catch. Like, he's just not a clutch guy. Like, he's a speedster, sure, but he's just not the guy who makes the biggest catches. So for me, like, that's something that maybe Kansas City needs to look into, is trying to find that. I mean, they assembled a pretty solid wide receiver core that's going to suffice for now, I suppose, but I feel like going down the stretch, and of course they got the big test against Buffalo this week, right? It'll be interesting to see, does Kansas City maybe try and get Odell Beckham Jr.? I don't know if he's ready yet, just because, again, he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl. Like, that's very late in the year, so I don't know if he's ready yet, but maybe he could be maybe it could be a late season addition that's going to like kind of tip the scales more into Kansas City's favor. I don't know. That's my only real concern. The offensive line kind of struggled. Crosby was a menace. So was Jones, Chandler Jones, brother of, UFC legend John Jones. Yeah, he's they were men. I mean, they were just, they were giving Patrick Mahomes all types of fits, man. But Mahomes knows how to adapt. And for me, again, that's why I just think I know everybody likes to hug on Josh Allen's nuts, and don't get it twisted. Josh Allen is great, but Patrick Mahomes is just a different breed, man.
I agree.
They're both in their own class. And it's just completely like, for me, I just think Mahomes is just a slightly above Allen, just because he's been there and done that. Allen's on his way up. Allen's coming for him. But I just think Patrick Mahomes is like, nah, man, my time is still now. So overall, happy with the win. I mean, on to Buffalo now.
On to Cincinnati.
So what I would like to bring up is this Raiders team, in my mind, has a lot of talent, but they're a 1-4 team. Are we surprised by that?
Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not, because McDaniels is a good coach. I really like that hire. Is
he though?
No, I think he was the right pick.
Okay.
Is he though? Do you think he wasn't, Dan?
I don't know. I think at the time I felt like he deserved it for sure. Look, they've lost all of their games have been close. So it's really hard to say if he was a bad coach or not. I will say that loss on the road against the Titans was really bad though. Like you can't lose that game.
Yeah.
Because the Titans have not been what they've been in the past this season, so that's inexcusable. But the other games that they've lost, it's like, okay, I can understand that. Now they have a bye week next week, and then their schedule gets a little easier. So really, I think we're going to find out more about this football team after that. But to answer your question, because I sort of dodged it by saying at the time I thought yes, I don't know. I think it's too early to say. I think after 4 games, it's too difficult to say whether or not he's the right choice.
Because he's been in New England for so long, and coming to the Raiders, if you're a coach coming from New England, but sometimes they haven't panned out too well. But
most times they haven't. Yeah. Bill Belichick's, and the guys who have coached under him, none of them have really panned out. Like,
you want to hear a funny story with that? All of them who haven't panned out are back with New England.
It's kind of how it works.
I know, it's pretty funny.
Bingo.
Or they're at Alabama. So
yeah.
they go back to like the dynasties, basically.
That's right. So
but yeah, no, I think It's very surprising that they're 1-4. The AFC West in general has been surprising because everybody touted. We did as well. We touted them as they were going to be the group of death, right?
We have
Like
missed so
they're
far.
gonna like this could be the first. Like this could be the division where all 4 teams make it into the playoffs, right? I think the issue with the Raiders that we saw here in this game is they're very top heavy, and when they lose their talent. You know, they lost Waller early in the game and they really struggled because of it.
Yeah.
You know, Jacobs had a good game, but he's kind of up and down. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. Obviously, Adams can only do so much. He is a game changer, but 3 catches for 2 touchdowns, he can't do it all. That last play was an insanity. Him and Renfro run into each other and it cost him the game. I mean, so Hunter Renfro is your next best guy. He's a good route runner. Sure, he's a consistent receiver, but he's not a game wrecker.
Yeah.
The other guy, number 10, I think his name is Hollins. I think it is.
Yes.
I think that's his name. I don't know. I just know he wears number 10 and he has hair that sticks out of his helmet. He struggles with drops as well. Like he's a very inconsistent wide receiver. So like my thing is that they went out and they got Devontae Adams, but they don't have anything under that. They're top heavy, like I said. Yeah. And now they're about to lose Devontae Adams. Who knows how bad Darren Waller's hurt. So they might not have anything. Luckily, they're going into a bye week, but they are going up to the easiest part of their schedule. But what if they botch that?
Yeah, I agreed with that. What if they do something of that nature? But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going back to the fact that this Raiders team with so much talent is 1-4. It just surprises me. And some people might think, oh, the Raiders aren't that good. And maybe I'm completely wrong. But based on paper, this team shouldn't be 1-4. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
No, they shouldn't be. But listen, there has to be a team at the bottom of the division. So far, Denver, I think, is trying to take that and run with it. My God, have they been bad? But I will say
Kirby,
just kick me off the podcast. I'm done. I've had enough of this. But yeah, Carlos did the right thing right then.
Everybody makes fun of him saying "Let's ride," and
he's an annoying individual. He's just an annoying individual.
Well, it makes sense that Kirby wants to take his taglines because he tries to be the Russell Wilson of the podcast.
You want a danger witch, Kirby?
Oh my God.
The Russell Wilson sandwich?
Do you have an alter ego named Mr. Unlimited?
God. He's the most cringe person ever. But no, I think one thing that does help the Raiders is the fact that they have had, I mean, they've been in all these games. It's not like they've gotten blown out, and it's come down to the end. It's just kind of similar to the Ravens in that they have to play a full four quarter game, and they haven't done that yet. I mean, this game's a prime example of that. They get out to the big lead, and then they just, I mean, you can't give the Chiefs any sort of opportunity to come back. You have to keep your foot on the gas pedal against them, especially. So, and they didn't do that, and Patrick Mahomes does what he does. I mean, what are you going to do? So, yeah, I think they'll be okay. Whether or not they're a playoff team, I couldn't tell you. But I'm not shocked that they're 1-4. Now, if they were winless, I'd be pretty surprised. But they very well could be winless. That's the other thing about how their games have panned out so far. So I kind of disagree with the surprise necessarily that they're 1-4, but really they could be 4-1. They could be 0-5. The way their games have gone so far. So, yeah.
Once again, Chiefs Kingdom 30 and the Raiders 29. When we return, the hurry up offense right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dempsky. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
All right. Welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. It's the three-man booth, the Swiss Army knife, and the weapon, Dan Dempsky and Carlos Martinez, back with you. It's time for the Hurry Up Offense, as always, sponsored to you all year long by Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services.
Bedbugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bedbug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bedbugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
I popped hard for that one, Dan. That was funny. That was funny.
An inside joke before we get in. All right. The Hurry Up Offense, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into it, the first coach has been fired. Matt Rule of the Carolina Panthers is out.
Garbage.
And I'm sure we were not surprised at all.
Yo, homeboy's going to be making bank, though. They still owe him $40 million.
Yeah.
And he's going to get a college job here soon.
Yep.
And he's just going to be swimming in money. What a terrible deal that Carolina made. 7 years? I didn't even give him a 7-year deal.
Brutal.
Crazy. But we'll get more into that when we talk about the Panthers. But the Hurry Up Offense, the first game we're going to skip, the Colts beating the Broncos 12-9.
Nothing to say.
There's nothing to say in this
nothing
game.
to say.
There was not a touchdown scored. It was all field goals.
Okay, we just said nothing to say.
Nothing to say. In London, the Giants beat the Green Bay Packers 27-22. Now, this, I wasn't that surprised because Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they were all traveling to London. These London games can get weird. And I just felt it was a matter of time before
the literally stole my talking point.
That's what I was thinking too. The second he said weird, I was like, oh shit, Carlos said that earlier.
I literally said that off air. You weren't here though, Kirby, so you didn't actually steal it.
That's impressive though, that you guys had the same thought.
Well, yeah, these London games are weird.
It's not just me. It's a lot of people who have that thought. So
it was only a matter of time before the Rodgers and the Packers slipped up. And the Giants, as of right now, look like one of the real deals out of the NFC East. But or could this just be a fluky Form 1 start? Because I could see it either way.
I think they're just playing inspired football. I don't necessarily know if it's great football.
Daniel Jones was bleeding off his hand.
Yeah, that was a funny picture. Well, not a funny picture with his lineman with his lineman had blood all over him because he was bleeding on him. I was like, why don't you just get that fixed? Anyway, what do I know? I mean, if I was walking around with my hand cut open, I think I'd want someone to fix it. Maybe, I don't know. maybe I'm wrong. But maybe he was feeling dangerous. I don't know. All right, I digress. But I don't know. I think the Giants. I think, and Carlos and I talked about this before we started. Brian Daboll's done such a great job there so far, kind of hyping up the troops and getting them ready to go, and that's sort of what I've seen so far. They haven't necessarily played the best, and they've had some sloppy wins, so they've gotten the job done when it counts. I don't know. And the Packers, because Rodgers alluded to last week, we can't keep playing the way they'd been playing, which was sort of, I don't know, just it's different. It's not the same Packers team that we've seen in the past, and
they don't have Devontae Adams.
They don't have Devontae Adams. It's one of the biggest things that people continue to point to.
Devontae Adams. They don't have Valdez Scantling anymore. Mm-hmm. They don't have guys that and Rodgers is a big guy on trust, right?
Yeah.
So like now he's surrounded by his only guy that he really trusts is Lazard and Randall Cobb, right? Randall Cobb is still on the team. Randall Cobb is like 3 years past his prime, like
maybe
so
more.
It's just like I just don't fully comprehend what the Packers were thinking, not bringing, I mean, obviously trying to sign Adams was going to be hard, but I don't know. It's just it's just a weird thing that the Packers are going through right now, where he's trying to develop trust with these young guys, but he just doesn't know yet.
All right, moving right along, the Bills routing the Steelers 38-3.
Yeah, the Steelers.
Are the Steelers the worst team in the league right now?
Yes, I think so. I mean, that was just a flat out domination on both sides of the ball. It doesn't help that they have a rookie quarterback who they can sort of blame on. They can blame their
even the veterans that they have on the roster. Mason Rudolph stinks. Mitchell Trubisky stinks. Kenny Pickett, I think, has got some promise. He's just not there yet.
He's got a ways to go.
So we're going on a limb in saying the Steelers are the worst team in the league.
I think they've got to be up there. I mean, who's worse than them?
The Washington Commanders, bud. Terrible.
We'll talk about them later.
Unbelievable. You think the Steelers are
Kirby?
At
least your team
there.
Hold on. If you want to make this about the Commanders, I mean, Kirby, like, dude, at least your team can score here and there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Steelers got completely blown out.
They had nothing.
Stop.
Nothing on offense.
Stop with this pity party, okay? We understand the Commanders suck, okay? I don't feel bad.
I'm happy sometimes. Because it's funny just to see angry fan bases in general on social media.
Move on.
All right. This was a competitive game. The Chargers and the Browns.
We didn't even talk about the Bills, but
the Bills are great.
Hot and on fire.
They look good. I can't wait. I can't wait for this game on Sunday.
This is going to be it's going to be a hell of a matchup. Yep.
I told you, Dan, you owe me $1.
Okay. $1 coming your way through Venmo right now.
$1 for what?
Because I mean, he doesn't actually owe me $1, but we did think that you were going to probably ask if you wanted to do a watch party for the Chiefs-Bills game.
I mean, if you're busy, that's fine, but I thought that'd be fun to do. But
we'll talk about it off air.
Okay. The Chargers and the Browns, a very close competitive matchup there, boys.
Yeah, it was.
Man, for people who had the Chargers as a Super Bowl pick, yeesh.
I don't think I did.
For people who had the Chargers to dethrone the Chiefs, yeesh.
Big yeesh, yeah. Oof. Yeah, it's this game. It was sort of the battle of mid, if you will. It's kind of what it seemed like out there. Yeah, the Chargers haven't impressed in in just about any game this year, and they've sort of been right there. They seem like a team who's going to finish about 500. Well, obviously you can't finish 500. They're probably a 9-8 team. That's kind of how I see them finishing.
No,
out.
I think they'll be
Maybe
an
a little
11-win team, in my opinion. I just don't know if I don't think Stanley's the right coach. I just don't think he gets it. No,
he definitely does some dumb stuff like week after week.
Yeah,
clock management, and of course we all know what happened at the end of last year. He have a chance to make the postseason. Yeah, and people are never going to let him live that down for taking that time out. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, the Browns have shown some fight. You got to give them some credit. I mean, obviously, Jacoby Brissett his started before, so it's not like he's a guy who doesn't have experience. But they've been kind of scrappy, and obviously we'll be there in a couple weeks in Baltimore to see the Browns come to town. So, going to be a pretty good game, I think.
The Browns they're just trying to stay afloat, just stay alive long enough to maybe possibly give Deshaun Watson a chance when he comes back, but scumbag.
Agreed.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Cleveland, but I don't think they're going to be in a position to really make a run even with Watson coming back.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that statement as well. The next game, hurry up offense, the Texans and the Jaguars. I mean, is there anything to talk about here?
Trevor Lawrence did not look good.
Yeah.
You can say that again, Carl.
There are some people even starting to get off the hype train. I'm just like, still give the guy a chance. I mean, listen, I think Doug Peterson is doing a great job with Jacksonville. I think they've obviously looked way more competitive than they've had in years prior.
Definitely.
And yeah, I mean, just you just got to trust the product. You got to trust the vision here. You got to trust the vision.
It takes time, and people want immediate results. It doesn't happen in sports. I mean, you're not going to see that turnaround immediately. So, yeah, I agree with you, Carlos. I think it's too early. Trevor Lawrence came into a bad situation with a bad head coach. Finally, seems like the Jags have righted the ship with the right choice. I think Doug Peterson's a great coach, and he'll get them competitive. I mean, they've been in all these games, and it's not like they're out there getting blown out. So, but 6 points is pretty brutal. You gotta get the ball in that little thing at the end of the field called the end zone. So hopefully the Jags can start doing that with more regularity.
All right.
I mean, and hell, the Texans too. They only scored 13 points. So what are you going to do? But they're the Texans, so they have. I mean, it's low expectations for them.
Yeah, very low expectations.
Yeah.
The Titans defeating the Washington Commanders 21-17.
All right, Kirby, take it away.
Well, Diami Brown looked good. I think that's the first time
Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz. God, he's just like so. It's just so much fun to watch him. Like, it's just so much fun. He's by far the most entertaining player in the league right now. Just because
I agree.
He can. It's either he's making an amazing pass or he's losing you the game. Love it. I love this. I love this for you, Kirby. I love this. This is what your team traded for. But what Ron Rivera did is kind of messed up. Like, he threw. I understand. Like, don't get it twisted. Carson Wentz has been playing terrible. And you tried to say it last week, but I didn't really want to listen because I didn't want to just put the blame on Carson Wentz also. But it's true. It's the whole team, man. The whole team is just kind of, aside from the wide receivers, I think the wide receivers are playing great.
Diami Brown, that was his first time out there, like, all season, I believe. He came from North Carolina. 2 receptions, 105 yards with 2 touchdowns as well. Terry McLaurin, 76 yards, and Curtis Samuel, 62. But my question, why are you relying on a running back who was in an attempted carjacking and got shot in the leg twice to be your lead rusher with 22 yards? Doesn't make sense to me.
They have no
it's a great
run blocking.
Feel good.
I don't know.
It's a great.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Whoa.
Pause.
Pump the brakes. Okay.
Commander sock.
Kirby, chill out. Okay. The dude got shot and miraculously
Like a
he's
month
back
ago.
already. Okay.
It's a great feel-good story.
Okay.
But why are we running Gibson? Gibson only has 6 carries, 6 yards.
You guys don't have a line.
Yeah, your run blocking is terrible.
But still pound the rock.
How do you pound the rock with no line?
How do you pound the rock if you keep going backwards? What are you gonna do?
Exactly. Like, what's the point? You're losing yardage.
I guess there is. See, that's why the Commanders suck. Commanders suck. That's why.
The Commanders suck because of the front office. They don't know how to build a goddamn on team. Okay, you need to
start
focus your anger on the right place. Okay, you're pound the rock. How are you going to run when the defenders are coming through the line like nothing? You're pounding the rock where 1 yard.
When the A gap, B gap, and C gap are
1
filled
yard.
with defenders.
You guys are.
I don't know what to think.
It's not. But here's the thing: it's not as if Carson Wentz isn't moving the ball through the air. He's 4th in passing.
Yeah, he's getting a ton of yards.
You guys have great wide receivers. The issue is the line isn't protecting Carson Wentz enough for him to make good decisions. And because he doesn't have time to make good decisions, he's making boneheaded decisions. And he's throwing interceptions at the end of the game.
Absolutely. And
great breakdown.
So you get it, but you don't get it. Move on. I'm over this. Good win by the Titans. Okay, terrible loss by the Commanders.
That was a must. That was a must win for the Titans. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, the Titans O line did not look the best. But I mean,
you're one to talk about an O line not looking the best. Yeah, you're sitting here saying, "Pound the rock, pound it."
Still, you have it just doesn't make sense because you have to establish the run in order to be
Kirby. How do you establish the run with no offensive line?
But you can't if there's no offensive line.
Oh my god, move on. This is stressing me out.
Just going around in circles now.
God, it's like
Titans 21, Commanders 17.
That's what it is. You act like you get it, then you don't get it.
Well, they suck. Can we all agree they suck?
They're mid.
Yes.
They're mid.
Oh my God. Kirby, move on. I'm not having this argument with you.
Whatever.
I don't want to have this pity party with you. Okay. It's all doom and gloom here.
See, you're just dropping down to my level. You can just stay up top and root for your Cowboys and your Chiefs, but you're getting mad because I'm talking about a pity party.
No, because you're not. Move on. Just move on. Just move on. I'm over this conversation.
The Minnesota Vikings, ladies and gentlemen, over the Chicago Bears in a division matchup. The Vikings are looking pretty darn good so far. Obviously, we look Kirk Cousins, 296 yards over almost 300 yards with a touchdown and an interception. Justin Jefferson tried getting in at quarterback, but had one completion for 23 yards. So some trickery there. So, I mean, Justin Jefferson, though, he is on fire right now for the Minnesota Vikings. And the Bears, yeah,
they're the Bears.
The Bears.
I mean, it was only a one possession game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only a one possession game. Don't sit there and act like the Bears weren't.
You got to give the Bears some credit because this game was looking like the Vikings were going to run away with it, but then they got very conservative, and the Bears were able to claw back into the game and actually had a chance to come back and tie the game, obviously. So you got to give some credit. The Bears have some fight. I just don't know about Justin Fields. I think his future looks more and more dreary by the week, I think. I don't know. He's in a bad situation though. That is one thing. I mean,
that's the thing. It's not like he's in a good, like he's got no receivers. That offensive line isn't great.
Yeah.
And just nothing there. And the coaching, I mean, it's a brand new coach, so it's just like,
it's a whole mess. It's a whole mess there. Yeah. And you got to give the Vikings credit. Kirk Cousins continues to play well in the regular season. It doesn't really translate to anything else, but He's a great regular season quarterback. If you like yards, Kirk Cousins is your man. And the occasional touchdown pass.
How about this game, gentlemen? If anybody were to do this, it would be Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots with a third-string quarterback chomping ankles out of the Detroit Lions 29-0.
He was ready to say that one.
He's been working on that all week. He's been working on that all week.
There we go.
Yeah, great performance by New England. Continuing the momentum that they got from last week, and shutting down the number one offense in the NFL. Because that's what Detroit was.
Yeah, I agree, and this was sort of. This is sort of a great thing for Bill Belichick, because I know I don't think we've really talked about it on this show, but I've talked about it with other people about, is this sort of the last season that Bill Belichick
touched it briefly, I think, on the last time you were on here. But I don't know. He seems kind of reinvigorated now.
Yeah. With this new kid, it's kind of crazy because, first of all, he looks like Mac Jones' doppelganger, so there's that.
Typical look.
It's like it's like an AI or something. It's just really weird. But you got to give credit where credit's due to what Bill Belichick has been able to do with not a lot. Let's be honest there. So, yeah, I think Dan Campbell is not far for the NFL. I kind of felt like it was an interesting hiring to begin with. I think he's a hell of a motivator, but that doesn't equate wins.
I knew you were going to say that too.
Because I tweeted it.
Yeah.
Or something, or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, anyway. You tweeted it. I was like, yeah, I think he might bring this up on the podcast because
he's good at he's good at motivation, and I think he could be a good coordinator. I just think some guys are not meant to be head coaches, and I think that's kind of the situation Dan Campbell's in. So, and look, he came into a difficult situation anyway. Detroit, not a franchise that is a proud one. I mean, they haven't been relevant. Like they haven't won a championship since the 50s. I'm pretty sure they've never won a Super Bowl. Obviously, just not a great situation for him to come into. But I think Belichick sticks around longer. I think I agree with what Carlos said at the top. Reinvigorated is a good way to say this. I know this is supposed to be a hurry up offense. I'm trailing on way too long, so I'm done. Just shut me up.
I got nothing to add.
All right. The Saints over the Seahawks in a high scoring matchup, 39-32.
I don't really have much to say here.
Apparently this wasn't a needle mover, Carlos.
It is not. Nobody really cares.
Nobody cares about those two
to
teams.
Be honest, it's
Geno Smith played well. I gotta say that much. And Taysom Hill, which I'm not a Taysom Hill fan. He's the difference in this game for the Saints. So I don't think that's going to happen a lot this season. So mark your calendars. This is the only game he's going to have 3 touchdowns in. Hot take.
All right. The Jets over the Dolphins. The Dolphins' fins are going down very quickly.
You're working on that one too, weren't you?
God. Yes, I was. How'd you guess?
The Russell Wilson of the podcast right now. My God.
Yeah, I got.
The Dolphins' third string quarterback because Teddy Bridgewater went out.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
concussion, right?
No concussion. He passed the protocol, but the spotter saw him wobble. So now with the new protocol,
that's right.
If they see you wobble, you're done. I think it's a little bit of an overcorrection, but that's typical of the NFL to overcorrect. Listen,
they'll fix it eventually. Find a sweet spot and fix it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what happened with Tua was egregious. It shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have been put in that position. But you can't then screw Teddy Bridgewater out of his opportunity just because you fired that doctor already. You've made it clear if you don't follow this process, you will be punished. I understand but this is football. Like, people are going to come up a little wobbly all the time,
Yeah, it's tough. And it's really tough because it's just like, what is the NFL? I mean, the NFL can't come up with a permanent solution now. It's going to have to come at the end of the season. So this is sort of a stopgap measure of something that's visual. Okay, the quarterback's wobbling, then he's out for the rest of the game, and probably next week. I don't know the time frame. I imagine Teddy Bridgewater can come back this week. I don't know for sure. If he passes the protocol and he's not, wobbling.
I mean, he passed. Like he passed all of it. Like
except for the eye test, apparently.
It's just they saw him wobble when he got up, so they were like, "No, you're done." It's just like, all right, cool.
Yeah. It's definitely going to change a lot of things this season. I think the NFL will work it out during the off season, but yeah, it's definitely something to watch out for because we could see a lot of quarterbacks be sentenced to sit out if this happens.
Yeah,
but like Carlos said, I mean they're wobbling all the time. I mean you get hit a lot in the pocket, so yeah. I know we got away from the game a little bit, but the game was decent.
For the Jets, at least.
For the Jets, yeah.
Yeah, for the Jets. Moving on, the Buccaneers over the Falcons, 21-15. Another questionable roughing the passer call, but it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, he gets the calls. I mean, he always has. Let's be honest. But yeah, this game to me, it was sort of a snooze, and the Bucs were coasting in the game, and the Falcons made a valiant effort to come back. They just didn't have enough time. Yeah, I just had nothing to add. I think that's what I would say it as. The Bucs were just like, we're just gonna sit in cruise control here and just kind of try to run the clock.
Everybody's just kind of waiting for the Bucs to like hit that gear, that like they were kind of in last year and the year before. They've been kind of stuck in like second gear. And I think everybody's like, yo, like we know there's more here. Like what are we waiting for? I just don't know. I agree with Dan. I just don't know if they're ever gonna really hit it, but
it's just like Brady. I just don't know. Listen,
this year's
different.
There's a lot of stuff in the tabloids. It looks like his personal life is a little crazy right now.
Yeah. That affects you whether you admit it or not.
Probably affects him. And it'll be interesting to see what happens from here on out. But in terms of the game, yeah, it was a snooze fest, and I mean that call was egregious. Like it was really bad.
Really bad.
Yep, a snooze fest at its best. The next game on the hurry-up offense, the 49ers defeating the Panthers 37-15, and in turn, Matt Rule loses his job. Steve Wilkes has been named the interim head coach for the Carolina Panthers. Jimmy G looking good for the 49ers so far, 253 yards with 2 touchdowns in the air. So he's looking pretty good. So this 49ers team keeping the momentum going.
Yeah, I will say the one thing for the Niners, for a team coming from West Coast to East Coast, it can be hard to make that adjustment and hit their stride. The 49ers had no issue hitting their stride in this game, and especially in the second half, I felt like they really turned it up and played well. And yeah, they took advantage of the Panthers. Oh my gosh, they're very difficult to watch.
And Baker Mayfield's out for an extended period of time as well.
Probably.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine with the high ankle sprain, so
that might actually help them. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, who was their best? Sam Darnold back? I'm not sure.
PJ Walker.
PJ Walker.
From the XFL.
Yeah. Yeah, Panthers are I mean, they've been done. They've been done since the beginning of the season, but they're done now, especially. But the Niners, you got to give them credit.
Oh, Niners look good. I mean,
they're solid.
My guess is they're going to win their division for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Right now.
All right. The Eagles over the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury, man. Come on. Or was it Cliff or the offense? I don't know. Who made that?
Kyler Murray freaking sliding too dang on early.
Yeah, and they thought it was second down. It was third down. They spike and they go for a field goal and they miss. Yeah, you manage that game a little bit better, you might dethrone the undefeated Eagles. But here we are in the Eagles.
I got to stop this here.
So another bad take by Kirby. Take it away.
No. It's not a bad take by you. It's just the way the Eagles are being hyped up as an undefeated team. They're 5-0.
Yeah.
They're not 10-0. Who have they beaten? Arizona's not that great. We already know the Commanders suck.
Thank you.
Oh, you just lit his fire. Oh man.
I mean,
Dallas, Minnesota, Jacksonville. Yeah, their first 5 games.
Minnesota's probably their only like legit win, right? You could say, but it was early in the season, so it's just like, was it maybe a fluky win?
We're gonna find out in the next few weeks.
I mean,
we're gonna find out Sunday night, boys.
We're gonna find out Sunday night. But the Cardinals just aren't good, man. Like, how do you're at home? You're at home.
Yeah, and
I've already argued my grievances on Kyler Murray, so
that contract just looks more and more ridiculous with each passing game. Also, Cliff Kingsbury, woof. I just don't. I've never understood the fascination with him that people have. He was a decent college coach, but
he wasn't a great. He was a decent. It's not like he was winning things.
And this storyline continues.
He was just that mind. He's the mind. They thought he's like a McVay type coach. That's what
because in college he didn't even have a winning record.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So he coached at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he was Alabama. It was not like he was Clemson. It's not
like Coach Patrick Mahomes. Maybe that would have helped something, but I guess not.
But again, Patrick Mahomes coming out of college
wasn't great. They weren't great when he was there, though. Yeah, they weren't like a.
But also, like, Patrick Mahomes was considered like they saw the potential in him, but he wasn't considered a fit. It's not like as if he played a year after his rookie year. He had to sit behind Alex Smith for a year and learn how to play quarterback because he just had raw talent.
Mm-hmm. He's right. So, yeah, I think we've all kind of said our piece about the Cardinals. It's just they frustrate me. They frustrate me.
What if Kyler gets signed to an even bigger contract tomorrow? What would you do, Dan?
Why would they sign him to an even bigger contract?
I'm just being hypothetical.
This isn't even a realistic hypothetical.
What would I do?
How do you re-sign a guy you just re-signed?
I want to see Kirby be a GM.
How does that make sense, Kirby?
I'm going to re-sign you to the re-signing that we re-signed. You want to re-sign? What?
I guess not. I guess it didn't make sense.
You know what? You should. I think you're a long descendant of the Jones family. I think you would fit right in.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Jones family as they travel to Inglewood, California with their football team. Jerry Jones might have not been there, but 22-10. The Cowboys were underdogs in this game, and Cooper Rush gets the job done again. In my judgment, in my opinion, it's Cooper Rush's team now.
Kirby, I know you said that just to get that reaction out of me. You're the worst. No, I mean, listen. Obviously, apologies and flowers have to be given out here because after week 1, it was all doom and gloom. It was the whole entire fan base collectively. We thought it was over. We thought there was no shot. Everything that could go wrong week 1 went wrong, and now we don't even have Dak Prescott for who knows how long. But there's this man named Cooper Rush. Actually, his name is now Cooper Clutch. And listen, he's a good backup quarterback. He's done his job well. It's not like he's lighting up the world here. He only had 102 yards passing this game on like 12 completions, I think it was. I think what is very obvious is this defense isn't just good, it's special. Like, there's something special happening on this defense. And they're the reason why we are in this position to, why we're in a position to have Dak Prescott come back and really kind of take us the rest of the way. Also, Dallas, this season has just beat the 2 Super Bowl participants. So
I know that.
by law, that means you hand us the trophy because we're better than the 2 teams that
by law. I've never heard that.
Well, that's because your team could never do something like this. So we will gladly accept the Lombardi trade. Mail it to us. FedEx it. Do what you need to do. And we'll gladly accept and put it in our trophy case because we've collected a Super Bowl runner-up and a Super Bowl champions helmet onto our pikes, I guess you could say. But no, I mean, the defense was special. Offense did what they needed to do. Tony Pollard proving again why we need to play him more. The Rams they just don't look great.
Yeah, I mean the Rams. I don't. Man, that team's hard to predict. Man, I have no clue what's going on with the Rams. But Dan, you missed it. Cooper Rush is the new face of the franchise for Dallas.
I'm just waiting for Carlos's face to tell the tale.
He already told it. He's doing it just to get the reaction because
of course,
that's
natural.
Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I heard both you guys saying sort of the Rams. There's sort of a mystery as to why they're sort of having the rust that they are. I can't explain it. I will say Matt Stafford has been getting hit a lot. It kind of reminds me, of course, when you play Dallas's, defensive line and the way they're able to rush the passer, that makes it extra difficult for any quarterback. But he's really gotten hit a lot this season compared to last year. I think that's kind of made the biggest difference. We've seen a lot more sort of errant throws and just him not looking like himself. And then, it's just weird. I think I agree with you guys, and just the fact that you can't quite put my finger on either what their issues are.
Losing Whitworth was just bigger than we thought it was going to be.
I was thinking that
they just don't have the same weapons they had last year, defensively and offensively.
Yeah,
they really went all in to win it last year, and this is kind of the consequences that then you
don't have those same guys you had before.
You can't necessarily keep this. You can't retool the same way. That's very rare.
Hard. It's very hard unless you have a young team and it's all been through the draft. Then it's.
And I think what hurts is I think they would have liked to have brought back Odell Beckham Jr., but again, he's just not ready, and I just don't think they also have the cap space to bring him back right at this point. And they're also waiting for Van Jefferson to come back too. So we'll see how this offense looks when they have another weapon to kind of take stuff off of Cooper Kupp, who is absolutely special. By the way, that was an incredible play that he made.
Just
like, man, that was good. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens when they get another, because the guys they have with Cooper Kupp are not great. Aside from
Agreed. I mean, when you have Atwell as your second leading receiver, I'm not really sure who that is, and he must be a young player.
Also, obviously, their running game is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah,
Cam Akers stinks.
They need to move on from Cam Akers.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
he's happen for him.
He hasn't given them anything the entire time he's been there. Not to dog him or anything, but to dog him a little bit. Anyway, I think for Dallas, I'm sure you guys have already touched out on Dallas, but the running game is, to me, what helped them win this game. And Carlos mentioned, in our group chat, that's why you got to give Tony Pollard more carries and get him more involved. He's such a unique back, and I feel like the Cowboys just don't use him enough. They have to start using him more. He had a huge touchdown run, and that's, of course, what Carlos and I were alluding to while the game was going on. And when you have a quarterback like Cooper Rush, who's not your guy, he's not your franchise quarterback, you have to find a way to run the football, and I think Dallas is, obviously going to have to find a way to do that effectively, and I think Pollard gives them that burst. that I don't think Zeke necessarily has at this juncture in his career. Although he ran the ball pretty well too in this game, but he did get 22 carries.
Yeah.
So they worked him a lot, which is why you saw some of those more explosive plays by Pollard. But Dallas just has to mix it up, and they have to continue to do that while Cooper Rush is playing, because he's not going to go out and throw for 300, 400 yards. He's not that kind of quarterback. I mean, let's be honest here.
He's not that guy.
He's not that guy. So, yeah. And Dallas's defense, they really did get after Stafford.
We have a special defense. It's not a great it's not a good defense. It's not a great defense. It's a special defense.
Just the way they're able to rush the passer, and then just they hit Stafford a ton, and just
secondaries
disrupting things. Yes, yeah, you definitely one of the most elite defenses in the league. Got to be.
Linebackers are good. Like we just have a very good defense, and I'm very happy with it.
As you should be. I think they've done that the right way. So that's really all I got. Dallas clearly dominated this game. The Rams had their chances. They couldn't. They didn't have enough in the tank to come back. So, and obviously 10 points at home is a pretty abysmal performance. I'd say overall for the Rams. But got to credit Dallas for what they've been able to do defensively.
Their defense has looked pretty well. I'll give them that. And I think it's
hard for you to do that, isn't it?
Oh man, that's coming. That's a lot of praise.
And Cooper Rush has been doing a good job. And I really feel like that's a big confidence booster for whenever Dak Prescott makes his return, that the team isn't in shambles and everybody's crying saying how bad Dallas sucks.
Right.
So
well, and you got a solid backup, which teams may start in the offseason trying to, let's see what we can get for this guy. But he's got to go on a hell of a run for that to happen. And I think Dak will be back before too long. I don't know what his timetable is. I'm sure Carlos getting into that. Yet. But I'd say a couple weeks probably. Yeah.
All right. This has been the Hurry Up Offense right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
All right. Welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. Boys, I can guess what I can guess what you're looking out for this week, Carlos, in NFL. The Bills and the Chiefs and the Cowboys and the Eagles. Am I right?
I mean, listen, the Bills and the Chiefs is the marquee game, but, Cowboys, Eagles for sure is like right there with it. I mean, that's obviously Sunday night, but, at the 4:25 slot, we got another big game. So, I mean, listen, it's going to be a very stressful night for me. That's for certain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully one of my teams gets a win.
I'm looking Thursday night football, Commanders and Bears.
You took mine.
Literally, that is like the last thing I would watch on Thursday.
It's going to be the lowest rated game.
Respectable right there.
What's going to be worse, the Commanders or Bears or Broncos and Chargers?
I think this game will be better as far as scoring. At least you'll have
I would say maybe Broncos Chargers, just because at least the Chargers will probably light up the Broncos.
Why does Russell Wilson continue to be on primetime?
Because again, these games the thing is they don't have flex scheduling until later on in the season, right? So these games are kind of set. They thought that the Broncos were going to be better. It's just like 2020 when Dak broke his ankle and all that. The Cowboys were slated to be in so many primetime games because they're the Cowboys, and then they eventually got flexed out, right? That's the thing. But a lot of those games are set, right? The first half of the season, then later on in the season you can flex them out. That's why Russell Wilson has some primetime spots.
Well, Dallas either plays the America's Game of the Week or they have a primetime game. So who who
because
cares
we're
anyway?
America's team, baby. We bring the ratings.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. You do. I think I'm looking out for. Let me see. You probably would think I'd pick my team, but nah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game, but it's just the matchups this week are not as.
It's just there's
strong.
just the two big games. It's just Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs. I mean, that's really what's going to dominate the headlines this week.
Outside of Bills and Chiefs, I'm going to say, here's an interesting one. Jets and Packers. Can the Jets keep pace with the Packers? That's really what I want to see.
It'll be
if they can keep it close, that'd be interesting to me.
It'll be interesting to see how, because most of the time the teams that go play in London have a bye week after.
Yeah.
But then they have that option too. They give those teams that option.
Right.
And I guess the Packers didn't want to take it. So they were like, just give us an easy game. We'll take the Jets. And the Jets end up they're not going to be an easy game.
Yeah, they're not bad this season. I think Salah's done a pretty good job so far. So yeah, that to me is going to be interesting. We'll see if the Packers can bounce back. I think that's the headline. It's got to be. The Packers didn't play like themselves last week, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, besides that, I think obviously, Chiefs and Bills is the easy answer. That's going to be the game everybody's going to have eyeballs on for sure.
That game is going to have some high ratings. I believe it. I believe it. That, and then obviously Cowboys Eagles is like right behind them.
Yeah, agreed. Those are going to be good matchups.
Well, that about wraps it up for another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. The 3-man booth back together again. Boys, it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a blast. Let's ride.
I didn't say it, Carlos. I didn't say it.
I know. And
he's keeping track.
You were about
punished too.
I was about to reprimand him, and then you interrupted me. So now I'm not doing it.
Well,
do I have to eat all those pancakes now?
No, he still does, but he's never gonna do it because
you never set the date, Carlos. We'll get.
Hey, 2 weeks from now, let's do it. There's an IHOP right here in Herndon.
I mean, I guess if we do it like Monday morning, maybe.
Well, you never know.
I don't know.
Figure it out.
We got to talk about all this. We got to talk about it.
True.
All right, the Kirby on Sports podcast. As always, a huge thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, and Barrett Pest and Termite Services. Without their support, the Kirby on Sports podcast would not be where it is today. As always, check us out on all streaming platforms, all social media platforms, www.kirbyonsports.com. Until the next time you hear us or see us, always remember to create greatness. And we say so long and peace out.